Welcome to Back to Life and Beyond. This is my interview with a Rare Mothers series, the podcast where we celebrate the strength, love, and resilience of parents raising children with rare diseases. I'm your host, Natalie, and today I'm so honoured to be joined by an incredibly inspiring mum, Sandra. Sandra is not only a devoted mother to two beautiful children, Sydney and Carson, but also a fierce advocate and passionate runner, and someone who's turned her own challenges into fuel for change. In this episode, Sandra opens up about her family's journey with ADSL deficiency, sharing what daily life looks like, how she balances the unique care needs of her children, and the joys, the heartbreak, and everything in between. We'll talk about diagnosis, support systems, self-care, and the incredible work she's been doing with a respite charity that's close to her heart. And of course, we'll hear about the lessons her children have taught her and what keeps her running, literally, through it all. So let's dive in, Sandra. Thank you so much for being here with us today. Sandra, to start off with, can you share a little bit about yourself and your family, including where you live in the world and what you did before becoming a mum?
It's a pleasure to be able to be on this podcast with you to share more about our journey with ADSL deficiency. I am coming from Buffalo, New York. I'm a single mom. I work full-time in the healthcare industry, so very familiar with diagnoses and all those fun things. Been in that industry for, I was just trying to figure it out the other day, 28 years, 29 years now. And it's been an incredible journey in my career, and a very supportive journey that we all know is really key to need when you are a special needs mom. You need that flexibility with your job so that you can fulfill the needs on the personal side of your life as they arise. Prior to being a mom, which was in 2008, I was building that career. I was into a lot of sports. I played softball, I played volleyball. I even learned how to play golf. My husband at the time was a huge golfer, and I didn't want to be a golf widow in our summer months here in Buffalo, so I decided to join him. Still a sport that I get to play today, now that I no longer can do any of the other sports, as we get older. So, now I'm a devoted mom, which is the second best job.
So so how old is your daughter, Sydney? At what age was she diagnosed with ADSL deficiency?
Yeah, so Sydney is 16. So she just turned 16 in September. I had a huge party for her, as those of us in our community know that every year is precious with our children. And she was not diagnosed until 2014. So she was about 6 years old when she was diagnosed with ADSL. So up until then, nobody here locally could figure out what was wrong with her. We ran very high level genetics. Nothing was returned. I had an excellent neurologist, and she just knew something wasn't right, but we just couldn't figure it out.
So how old was she when she got diagnosed, sorry?
She was 6. So in 2014, April of 2014, we found out that we were both carriers of ADSL and that we had passed it down to both of our children. So
how did you get Sydney's diagnosis? Tell us a little bit about how all that came about.
Yeah, so in 2011, when Carson was born, he was doing all typical newborn things. So again, the diagnosis of just globally developmentally delayed for Sydney seemed to just be a fluke to all the doctors here. And at 4 months old, Carson started having infantile spasms. Once that started, the neurology team here started putting 2 and 2 together, saying that there's something underlying with both of these children, even though they are presenting very differently from each other. So we were able to go to a neurogenetic specialist at Kennedy Krieger. So we traveled with Carson. He was smaller and easier to travel with then. And we all got drawn for a whole genome genetics test. And 6 months later, we returned back to Baltimore and we were given the diagnosis for both of us and both of our children. So Carson was 3 years old at the time.
And so up until that point, apart from the infantile spasms, was there developmental delay with Carson? Was there any visual impairment?
Yeah, so once Carson started having his spasms, he totally regressed back to newborn state. He was meeting all his little milestones, at up till 4 months old. And then he went all the way back. And although he did catch up on some of the milestones, he, continues to be severely delayed in everything. He's nonverbal. He doesn't walk. He can't feed himself. So I consider both my children medically complex, probably the best term to get people to understand. Both have a lot of autistic traits as well.
So Sandra, how do they communicate, or how do you communicate with them? Can you explain a little bit about that with your children?
So Sydney, now for the last 2-ish years, maybe 3 years now, she all amazed us in her vision, even though she has cortical visual impairment. Both children do. She has had vision therapy since she was small, and she has been able to improve immensely with her CVI. And we trialed an eye gaze device on her because I kept telling everybody that she's got a lot to say and she does it very visually. Yeah. And to all of our surprises, she was so good at it, and she's able to answer yes, no questions. She is able to choose from 2, not much more than 2, but still she has the ability to tell us things. Carson, on the other hand, he was making a lot of good progress prior to 2020 when COVID hit, and we all had to hunker down at home for a very long time. And he is a child who learns from repetitiveness, and he lost all of his skills to be able to communicate on an iPad. He is hyper movement child. So he has a very hard time staying focused on any one thing for more than 30 seconds. And that's pushing it. Yeah. So he communicates a lot with a lot of sounds and a lot of movements to try to tell us, if something's bothering him or he wants something. So with Carson, we really need to keep him in a very strict routine so that we can anticipate his needs and wants.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about, I suppose, what activities they like to do outside of the home and outside of that environment.
Yeah, so they do go to a full special needs school Monday through Friday. So they get to participate in gym and music and art, and also get all their therapies at school, which is wonderful. But at home, they both love music. They love to be outside. Both of them as children were watched by their grandparents who loved to take them outside. So they gain this love of being outside. So in the winter months is tough around here. We don't get out very often, but in the summer months, we are outside all the time, going for walks down by our river or on a bike path that's close to us, or just out for ice cream. They just love to be that, have that fresh air. They also attend a Saturday respite camp that they get to do a lot of fun activities. They go on little field trips they've gone ice skating, and they also participate in Special Olympics bowling. And
Wow,
Sydney loves the bowling.
that sounds like fun. So tell me a little bit how the special needs ice skating works. I
Oh
know
yeah.
we've
So
got,
they actually take them right on the ice in their wheelchairs now. Back, in up until 2019, Sydney walked. So they would put the kids in their walkers
Mhm.
out on the ice. And now Sydney no longer walks. So they have her in her wheelchair out on the ice. And Carson is super fast in his walker. So they have put him in his walker at times and then had him back in his wheelchair. But it's really, really fun that this program includes them in activities that typical kids do.
Yeah, that would be, yeah, it would be a lot of fun. Yeah. So, okay, so how does a typical day look like for you and your family, and who helps
Yeah,
you and how do they help?
yeah, absolutely. So, um, as I stated before, Sydney and Carson are two totally different children. And my 13-year-old son does not enjoy sleeping. So our day starts very early here. Usually by 2 or 3 in the morning, he's starting to chat away in his room. And then he's on and off until about 5:30. So really, most of our days start here about 5 a.m., where it's just me. I don't have any help in the morning. So I get them ready for school. We have breakfast, and on the bus they go to go to school for eight in the morning. On the way home, once they get home from school, we have a program here in the United States through our Medicaid to provide the respite care for the kids after school. So we have staff who works and gets paid through the state to care for the kids. So we have we have actually 2 people here every day, one to take care of each child. And they do all the care for them after school so that both my ex-husband and I can continue to work. We also have both our grandparents who are in the programs as well. So they are our backups when we need them. And for the weeks off we don't have school, it's tough to cover the all day shifts.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
then
How have,
they get
sorry. So how have
7
you?
p.m. They
Uh,
go to bed. And then it's mommy time.
sorry, say that again, Sandra. I missed that last bit.
Yeah, so they both the kids go to bed at 7. So I spend the last hour with them. My staff stays till about 6 o'clock. So I take on the rest of the time to get them ready for bed and give them all their medicines. And they're pretty tired by then, especially Carson, since he gets up so early. And they sleep well for about 8 hours. And then we start all over again.
Okay. So how have you managed the different care needs of your children, and what activities do they like to do together? Is there anything they do together?
They're actually in the same classroom right now. So they get to spend a lot of time together. Um, it is a little different with each of them, right? Sydney has active seizures, so she needs a lot of care when it comes to her seizures and ensuring that she's safe, and that the staff is trained what to do when she has a seizure. She is a child who clusters, so she will have back-to-back seizures minutes apart from each other sometimes. And so her care is really a lot of seizure protocol and making sure she's comfortable. And Carson, she's very calm, cool, and collected. For a 16-year-old, she gives you the looks like a 16-year-old. She doesn't want anything to do with anybody most of the time. Carson, wild child. This kid has more energy than 10 people put together. He is constantly on the move, constantly spinning around and crawling all over and playing in his ball pit, which is his favorite thing in the world. And then he will cuddle with you. So he is one or the other. He will want to cuddle with you, or he's going to run around like the Tasmanian devil. That's what I call him. But then he crashes. 6 p.m. every night. He is like, I'm done. I don't have any more energy. I'm going to end the day now. And he wakes up the next day with the same amount of energy, and we do it all over again. So his care takes a lot of training on safety.
Yeah.
And making sure that he's safe in his environment, because he doesn't understand that, and that he's not hurting others. So we spend a lot of time making sure that our staff is trained to be able to understand and anticipate Carson, so that you can be one step ahead of him.
Yeah. And like
So,
you said, hasn't had seizures since he was 3, has he? Yeah.
right. Yeah. So he's only literally had, well, he stopped the infantile spasms after a year. So he was 1, and then he's had 3 more since. I think we're almost on 2 or 3 years now of no seizures. And the last time we tried to wean him off his meds is when he ended up having a seizure the next morning. So he will never come off his seizure meds now, even though he's on a very low dose. It's actually doing something. So our neurologist is like, nope, we're never doing that again. So he literally, yeah, he is, amongst the group of us that have ADSL, he's one of the luckier kids, being so seizure free for as long as he's been.
Yeah. 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 Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about receiving the diagnosis, and particularly can you tell us about your journey as a mother of a child with ADSL deficiency? So when obviously you've covered off when you first noticed some things were different with Sydney and also Carson as well. Um, but how did you respond to the diagnosis? What support was available for you and your husband at the time?
Yeah. So, the diagnosis was kind of a relief, because we could not figure out what was wrong with them.
Mm,
And if you don't know what's wrong with them, you can't help them, right? You have no idea. Like, the doctors were just guessing at what they needed, and what would help. But without a diagnosis, that's all they could do. So once we got diagnosed, I felt a sigh of relief, if that's the right way to put it. But then I became obsessed with trying to find out information and find other people.
mhm.
We were told at Kennedy Krieger that another child was just diagnosed there as well, and that they lived in Rochester, New York, which is about an hour away from here. And they gave me her email address, and because she had said she was okay sharing it, right? And so I emailed her right away because it was, the only other person that I knew. And nobody in the United States knew, like locally, or even at Kennedy Krieger, like these 2 doctors that diagnosed our 2 children, they had no idea what.
Talking 2014.
2014. Yeah. Yeah. And then I stumbled on the GoFundMe that either you started or someone else started, for the research going on in the University of Denver.
Yeah.
And I connected into the Facebook group, which in your last podcast interview with Nicole, I realized I was one of the early people into the Facebook group. So I'm thankful that you started the group, because then now you feel like a sense of community, and you can ask your questions about, my child's experiencing this, has anybody else experienced it? What have you done to help? As I still feel all our doctors are still trying to navigate through the disorder with us. And I know that there's a lot of research going on now, which is fabulous, way more than when in 2014, way more than in just the last few years. It has definitely taken off, and in Italy and here in the United States, and the rare disorders organization, NORD, they are starting to become more aware of ADSL, right? And I think it's wonderful that all of this is going on, and they're getting closer and closer, right, to figuring out how to help our children.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And just to getting the diagnosis, to not have that wait of, 2 to 3 years for a diagnosis for a child. Um,
Right.
there's a relief in getting that diagnosis. So, that's, it's a long time to wait to finally learn that what is happening with your child, and that I remember the anxiety that went on for years. Well, particularly from, because my son William was similar, very similar stories actually. But my son William wasn't diagnosed until his younger brother Hamish was diagnosed at 9 months old, or 6 months old he was, and William was 3. So, that was a long time for that anxiety around not having a diagnosis for Will. Yeah. All right. So, what are your greatest challenges now, and what do you need help to support your children? What therapies and equipment do you need?
Yeah. So I think the biggest challenge um, that we have right now is really having the right care for them, and the trying to find programs where they can participate in. It's very hard um, to have my children participate in even some special needs events, because they are very geared towards higher functioning children, and not necessarily my children in wheelchairs. So a lot of times I feel like we're excluded from the special needs world here. And I know people don't do it on purpose, but I have found a couple groups that are so welcoming. And that's where I gravitate to, because those are the people who get it, that you don't need to walk or talk to want to participate in sporting events and carnivals and any fun thing that a typical child would want to do. So that to me is like the biggest challenge here, is finding them things to do that they would enjoy.
Yeah, and with others as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and be around their peers, right? And that's why I enjoy their Saturday camp, because it's inclusive. It doesn't they've been going there, so they both been going there since they were 5, and I think Carson started when he was 4. And so I have another not-for-profit that another special needs mom started years ago, and she's continued to grow it, and she is so welcoming to all in the community of special needs, and not just the higher functioning children. And she does all her events to make it inclusive for everybody, which is wonderful. So I think that's the hardest thing. And the older they get, the harder it is. I can no longer lift Sydney up anymore on my own.
Yeah.
So I'm very thankful that 3 years ago I found a fully accessible house that kind of fell in my lap. And I found a wonderful family who sold me their handicap van. And I don't know what I would do without the house that's fully accessible and the van.
Yeah.
I mean, those are two, they with ceiling trap to move them around the house. Raise it, lifting up and down to get Sydney off the floor into her chair, into her feeding chair, into her bed, into the shower. I was doing all that lifting at my old house. And it came to the point where I just couldn't do it anymore. She's 5'2". She weighs 105 pounds. Carson's almost as tall as me now, and I'm 5'4", and he probably weighs just as much as she does. So, I mean, I'm getting older and they're getting bigger. So, and Sydney's health isn't the best. She didn't start to have her seizures till she was 8, and they've never been under control. So it's taking a toll on her, and you can see the more and more she has seizures now, it's harder for her to recover. But that I feel is like the biggest challenge is that I have. And thankful though, we have good durable medical equipment companies, and I have been with this one gentleman who's moved around companies, but has never left me. So we have started with Sydney and Carson's first wheelchairs with him to their brand new chairs they just got. And he knows them. So he takes the time to find the right chair. Yeah. With Carson's movement, he now has this chair that has hydraulics in it so that when he bounces, the chair bounces with him. Wow. Because his last chair, the day before this chair came in, he cracked the frame. Oh. That's how strong he is.
Getting bigger as well. So he's bigger and his movements are bigger and he's, a lot stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yes. Yeah. And Sydney's has a really cool recline now, like it reclines instead of just like back and forth, it kind of reclines like a U.
Yeah.
So
too. Yeah. It was great for when you had a seizure, you could just drop them straight back and they could be back and you can it was a lot more comfortable for them to have a sleep day, especially if she's having a lot more sleep through the day to recovery. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What systems have you found helpful? What advice have you found helpful on your journey?
Yeah, I think, I come from a very loving family, and family's everything. And I embrace this journey with these children since day one. I don't have any other children except for them. Mm-hmm. So I know no different. This has been my world as a mom since day one. And when Sydney was having issues right out of the gate, in my head was, you have two paths to take. Mm-hmm. The woe is me and fall into that complete depression kind of person, or you're going to fight for every single thing that these children need until their last breath. Mm-hmm. And I obviously chose the latter. And there's not a day goes by where I'm not advocating for something for them. Yeah. Whether it be the state coming in to help remodel something in my house, to something at school that they need, or, the respite care, and hiring the right staff and things like that. Day in and day out, it's something for them. And I wouldn't change it.
I think that's amazing, Sandra. Like, even, it's so beautiful because, that to have that growth mindset, to take this on with a growth mindset, and, to give everything that you can as being a mum and a caregiver, but then also you've got a career as well. Like, you're upholding, a full-time job and maintaining a house and the managing of these children. I think that's so remarkable. Wow.
I appreciate it. Some days I question my sanity, I'll tell you that, to it all. But I'm a very driven person, and I think I've been like that my whole life. But the life of a special needs mom, it changes you. It makes you look at life differently. I know that you really enjoyed my latest tattoo that I have, my broken infinity ring. And the purpose behind that ring was, really, it hit home, because it's just really how I feel that, you have to accept the reality that nothing is permanent.
Can you show that again? Because I want to get a tattoo as well. I love that. Yeah.
So it's broken, like right here, right? So it comes around and it stops, and then there's a nice little heart above it. Like nothing in life is permanent. Right? We all know that. Mm. So you need to focus on living in the present moment. I take no day for granted, because tomorrow's not guaranteed for any of us, especially our children who are suffering from a progressive disorder. And that mindset wasn't there before I was a mom of these kids. It is now. And then the older I get, the more important that is, to stay present in the moment. Make the memories, take the pictures, laugh, cry, scream, do what you need to do every day, and then wake up the next day and be thankful that you woke up, and that your children woke up, and that you're still here for them, and able to care for them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That, that's how I survive, I think.
Manage your stress, and how do you look after yourself in amongst all of that? That's pretty important.
Yeah. So I know at the beginning when you were introducing me, talked about my love for running.
Yeah.
Um, and it was a journey late in life that I took on running. And I found running to be very mentally freeing. I could get out there and just run and think and or not think and just listen to my music and just get lost in the run and in the beauty of being outside. Um, and then I found two organizations that were promoting special needs, and they paired you up with runners. And then I met two wonderful people who got paired up with my children to run. And I was like, well, I run too. So I was able to then go and meet them. And one of the organizations has gifted my children two running strollers, singles, and then helped me during COVID fundraise for a custom made double stroller. I don't run with a double stroller. I'm not that crazy, especially now that the kids weigh well over 100 pounds each. But it is a way that we can keep them out into the community. I have run races with them, which has been wonderful. And I continue to run now. I took a little hiatus. I had a few flips in my medical journey of life here. And I just committed to get back into it. So stay tuned for my next run in Maui, Hawaii in a few weeks. And then I'm going to go and camp, which is not something that I like to do, and run a trail run with a bunch of my friends over 2 days. So really getting back into that running. And that to me is my self-care. And I love to travel, and I still do. Even though I have my children, being divorced has really allowed me to do a lot more travel and get the respite I need. Yeah. Which is super important. Even going out to dinner with my girlfriends is, to me, a great respite. You get to laugh and just have fun. So we take trips every year together, just because it's so nice to just be away and pretend for a little bit that you're not a mom.
Very important to have those breaks, isn't it? So
Yeah.
you and your husband, you do a bit of a week on, week off, wherever you
Yeah.
can.
Yeah. We have a 50-50 custody split. It is supposed to be week on and week off, but we do work really, really well together. We have to. Our kids are constantly need both of us. So we allow each other to go on bigger vacations and things like that, and we just work it out. At the end of the day, it all evens out.
Is there anything that you've stopped doing since you've become a mum, a rare mum?
You know, I do. Well, I have stopped golfing.
Yeah.
I used to golf in a golf league every week, and I did when I was still married because it was easier to be able to go out at night. Now it's not as easy. Have to have people trained to give all the meds. And here, there's only I have two programs that my children have caregivers through, and only one of them can administer the meds. So it's hard to have people at night because they need all these meds before they can go to sleep. So I decided that it was just kind of selfish of me to continue to be in that league. And try to find somebody every single week to take care of them for me. So I have given up some of those things. Having that freedom to go out whenever you want, that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
When I have children, I'm home.
I think being a mum with, normal kids, it's very much like that. You just get stuck in the rut of life and caretaking. So yeah, I can understand. Yeah. Okay, so we spoke a little bit about how often you get respite, and which is great. I'm really glad that you've taken that time. You've got that self-care piece in there as well. So did you want to talk a little bit about this foundation that you're involved in?
Sure.
Share a little bit about
that. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm close with a couple of my special needs moms friends. As friends, we met when Carson was 1 year old. I met the woman who's the founder of our foundation, which is Riley's Rest. Her name is Catherine, and her daughter Maria has Down syndrome. And when she was little, she was diagnosed with infantile spasms or West syndrome. And back then, not all the meds that our frontline meds for infantile spasms, West syndrome were available in the United States. But she was able to work and provide her daughter what she needed. And, you know, they spent the first 3 years of her life in and out of hospitals and doctors and things like that. And after 3 years, her and her late husband now were able to go out on a date night. And they couldn't believe how wonderful it was to get that little bit of respite. And from that day forward, it gnawed on her. And God kept telling her that she needed to do something. So last year, she asked me if I wanted to be a part of her foundation because she was ready to get it going. And it wasn't going to be on paper anymore, and it was going to become real. And I said, absolutely. Respite is near and dear to my heart because you can't pour from an empty cup. Yeah. And our children require that cup to be full every day. And so we began working. We formed our board. We became a not-for-profit. And so there's a lot of paperwork to get there. And we were almost ready to launch in December. However, Catherine's husband passed away in November. And so we launched Riley's Rest. And our mission is to provide respite opportunities to local families caring for developmentally disabled children and or adults. We, as a group of us locally, all understand that need for respite. And those of us who can't have the opportunity to do it understand how important it is. And there are a lot of parents of special needs kids that can't financially afford to have that respite time because maybe they can't work because they have to take care of their child or their adult child, and those financial burdens are hard. So we wanted to be able to give back and gift those families the respite. So Riley's Rest was formed. And we said that once a year we would open up applications for people to apply for respite. And we would gift out depending on how much money we have raised, right? Depending on how much we can gift out, being a not-for-profit, we want to gift out as much as we can. And we were able to launch this year, which we didn't think we would be able to, but we have raised enough funds to be able to launch. So in February, we opened up applications and we were able to gift respite to 22 individuals or husband and wives. Some were just individuals, right? There's single moms, single dads in there, to 22 individuals, anywhere from a vacation paid to go away, a date night, an overnight, a couple of night, like a 4-night stay. We partnered with another not-for-profit. And so we have a date in 2026 where we have her bed and breakfast where we can send 7 families, or 7 like husband, wives, or singles to it. So when they applied, they chose what they were looking for. Because everybody's needs are different. Like I can only get out for a date night, or I would love an overnight. And so we're out there now. And we have gifted, like I said, to 22 people or individuals or husbands and wives, like I said. And we've started to get some of them have already used their respite. And we are starting to get awesome testimonials back. And it shows that our mission is working. Each of these families and individuals that have used their respite now since we've given them out in the month of March. So we're only a couple months in now. Not everybody has used their respite yet, but they're so thankful and so happy that they were able to get away. And stories from just being able to go out for a date night that people haven't done it in 3 years, 5 years, more than that. It's just amazing to see, and it fills my heart because we know how important respite is. And so we hope each year we can grow and get bigger and bigger and be able to provide more and more of this respite care to those in our community.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that quote that they have on their website too, which says, "A good laugh and a long sleep are two of the best cures for anything." And it's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So we have a big fundraiser coming up May 3rd. Yeah. So we hope to be able to raise a lot of money so that we can continue each year to get, like I said, gift more and more respite to those in need here in our local community.
Yeah, great. And I'll just we'll put the show in. We'll put some notes, into the bottom of this. Start again. I'll just edit that. That's going to be my first edit. So we'll be sure to put the show notes. We'll put. Oh my God, I can't speak. I've gone completely blank. Oh. And we'll put links to Riley's Respite at the end of this podcast too. So be sure to jump in there and donate whatever you can, which is a fantastic cause. Respite is so important. Self-care is so important. And I'm really excited that you're going to be joining us at our retreat next year.
Yes.
I know.
Yes.
I finally got myself organised and I've updated the dates for our 2026 Pilates and Wellness Retreat in Koh Samui, Thailand. April 25th to May 2nd, and you're hoping to come with your sister as well, which would be fantastic. And there's a few other families there from our ADSL Deficiency group that I think have sort of shown some interest in attending that with us, which would be awesome. So I'll put notes to all of that in the bottom as well. So
yeah, I sent you a link to our YouTube interview that we had a few weeks back. Maybe it was in February because our applications were still open. So we were interviewed by our local news channel, and it aired that afternoon. So I sent that to you
just before we got on.
Yeah, because I thought about it as I was sitting here getting ready.
I hadn't had a chance to watch it yet, but yeah, I'll put that in the show notes as well for people to get on board with that as well. All right. So what are some other inspiration that you'd like to share with other families?
I think the biggest thing is just taking one day at a time. Mm-hmm. It's easy to try to, it's natural, I think, for us to say, oh my God, what is life going to be like in 1 year from now, and 5 years from now, and 10 years from now? And that to me is scary to try to think that far. I just like to live in the day. You got to take one day at a time and enjoy every minute of that day. Somehow, some way, there's something good about every single day. And you just have to find that good in every single day. I try every day to keep my mindset like that. I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect, right? But that's what my children have taught me. They're so carefree. At the end of the day, they're so carefree. They're not exposed to all of this stuff in the world that's going on. And they laugh, and it's just, they smile, and that just warms your heart. Like, that's the best part of my day, is when they laugh and they smile at me and they want to cuddle with me, the boy, not the girl. And so that's my advice. Yeah, that's my advice. They're the polar opposites. She was never a cuddler since day one. He was a cuddler since day one. I was so happy. He still is, almost 14, and he's still a cuddler. And I think that that's just with anything in life, right? But I think in this community of special needs, it's even more important to stay present.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my tattoo, to stay present in the moment, make the memories, take the trips.
Yeah. I love
You know,
that too, Sandra. I just need to
oh
show
yeah,
I am their voice. They are my heart. Special needs mum. I love it. It's beautiful.
yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah. Some mom who this is her life, like making different shirts and stuff. She made it one year, and I was like, oh, it's for more than one person. Like, there's not a lot of us that have multiple children.
yeah.
I should have bought like 10 of them, because this I'm never going to not wear this shirt.
Yeah. No, that's great. I love that. Yeah. All right. So we're going to start to wrap up the interview now. So lastly, is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners today? You got anything else that you would like to share?
I the more I thought about that today, as I was thinking about our podcast, and kind of what our mission is, right, with this, is really to embrace your life, and like I said, be thankful, um, take the respite. Can't pour from an empty cup, but be thankful for those around you. One thing that I think is tough when you are a special needs parent is your friends with typical children have a hard time relating to you, and you to them. So I have had to navigate that world, and I'm happy to say that I have never lost a friend. If anything, it's brought us closer together. And I think that's just wonderful. Having that tribe around you is so important. And my family is, and even my ex-husband's family, we're all still one big family. And we are all here for each other. Anytime Sydney needs to be in the hospital or go, something happens, like they are here in a heartbeat. It is one phone call away, whether it's 6 a.m. or 1 a.m, it doesn't matter. Every single person, if I called them, that between my friends and my family, they would be here in as fast as they could, and help. And that to me is how I get through being a special needs mom, because you can't do it alone. You need a tribe.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's beautiful, Sandra. Whew. Okay. That is so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing a little piece of your journey as a rare mum.
Thank you, Natalie. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to use my voice for my kids.
I just want to share all of our stories out into the world. I think it's so important. I go onto our little, our Facebook private group, and I know, like, and you see that some people haven't commented. They're there. We've got 160 families on that Facebook group now, and I'll put a little link in here. It's 160 families in that group now, and sometimes there's only maybe 10 or 12 of us that are active in there, and it breaks my heart that there's other families there that do have a voice and aren't able to share what's going on right now in their life. That this has been so challenging that sometimes it can be really hard to communicate with other people the grief that they're going through, whether they've lost a child or whether it's that anticipatory grief as well. So it's really important that we share our stories, and that's why I wanted to put this together. It was to give everyone their moment of being able to share what's truly important to them. It's great. So thank you so much for sharing today.
Thank you, Natalie. Appreciate it.
I wanted to know if there's any way our listeners can connect with you. If I know you've got your cause there, I'm going to put the notes in there for Riley's rest at the end of the show. But if there's any way that people can connect with you, you're welcome to share that here as well.
Yeah, so you can reach me on Instagram at Sandy Mohan 29, and I'm also on Facebook as Sandra Mohan. Right. And again, through Riley's Rest as well, you can always connect there with me, as I am an active board member. So I am on the page all the time.
Well done. And, I'm thanking you from your children's hearts for all the work that you do and the dedication for you and your husband to caring for your children.
I appreciate that, Natalie. I have looked up to you since the minute we met, and I can't wait till next April to put my arms around you, give you a big hug.
You're my new hero, let me just say. There's so much that I can yeah, amazing. So well done. So that's it. Thank you for your honest strength and love, and truly inspiring. It's been such a privilege hearing about your journey and incredible work you're doing with Riley's Rest. God, I can't get my mouth to work now. Yeah, so thank you so much for that work that you've been doing at Riley's Rest Foundation. And thanks again. And we wish you all the best for your run in Maui. And we look forward to that next time. Maybe we can hear about that in your trail run and how that goes. And hopefully hear from you before we do our wellness retreat in April 2026. And just another note to all of our listeners, if you'd like to support Sandra's cause, you can find links to Riley's Rest Foundation and their fundraising efforts in the show notes. Every little bit makes a difference in helping families access respite and support they truly need. And if you're a rare mother who would like to share your stories, or do you know someone whose journey certainly deserves to be heard, I'd love to connect as well. So reach out and let's make this happen. And if you're looking for support for your own well-being, you can learn more about the self-care programs that I offer both online and in person at backtolifestudio.com.au, and in the show notes I'll leave some links to that as well. So thank you so much for listening. Take care of yourself and each other, and I'll see you on the other side.